Well, good morning, everyone. So our responsorial psalm. In my distress I called upon the Lord, and he heard my voice. What does that mean to you? I called upon the Lord, and he heard my voice. Does that mean that God is like a magic genie? You call him, he's going to do what you expect. You know, in the first reading is talking about the power of the Lord will destroy the enemies. Right? Heal them. It's about expectation, right? When we come to God in prayer, what are our expectations? So when I hear this, in my distress, I called upon the Lord, and he heard my voice. That's comforting because I know that when I go to God in prayer, he will hear me. But he's not my servant. He's not taking notes and saying, okay, I'm going to go and do exactly as you want, right? And I understand in prayer, thy will be done. We say this in the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And here, God, is what thy will should be. That's kind of where I go sometimes, right? I want God to do things the way I want God to do things. And prayer is more about listening to God than having God listen to us. And when we make this prayer, I called to God in my distress, and he heard me. I also need to hear God. So when we have a conversation with anybody, right? It's about listening as well as speaking. And in relationship, prayer is about our relationship with God. And in any relationship, there's more than one type of communication. If every time I speak to my wife, I say, this is what I want, right? Here, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, right? That's not a very good relationship, right? But sometimes we do that to God, right? I get on my knees and say, God, this is what I want. And I forget to say, God, help me to understand what you want. That's the key, I think, to prayer. But it is good to know that in my distress I called upon the Lord, and he heard my voice. Because he can help us through those difficult times. Just to know that he's there with us can help us through those difficult times. Our readings, as we get closer and closer to Holy Week, to the end of Lent, take on this foreboding tone, right? This distress. Jesus knows that his death is imminent. And even Jesus, in his final hours, says to God, if it is your will, take this cup away from me, please. But he does say, if it is your will. Sometimes that's what I have to remember, that if it is your will, Lord. I can ask God, but understand that it's God's will, not my will. It's the trick of prayer. Sometimes I treat God like the divine order taker. I have to remember to listen as much as I speak to God.